10 days ago, in her own hometown, a two-time Olympic gold medalist won a national vault title in front of a crowd that had watched her grow up in that exact city, competing on the exact apparatus that had defined the biggest triumph and the biggest heartbreak of her entire career. Days after that, word broke that she was stepping away from elite competition and walking back through the doors of her college gym, not as an athlete anymore, but as a coach, closing one chapter and opening another inside the walls of the exact program that had helped rebuild her career. Her name is Jade Carey, and the shape of her career echoes something the most decorated American gymnast of an earlier generation, Shannon Miller, has said in almost exactly these words. Everyone gets scared, and everyone falls. The key is to get right back up and try again. There's no record of Miller ever saying that about Carey specifically. She didn't need to. Carey has lived that exact sentence out, on camera, in front of a global audience, more than once, in a career built almost entirely around the gap between a devastating mistake and what she chose to do about it. Miller herself remains, decades later, the most decorated American gymnast in Olympic history. 7 medals across the 1,992 and 1,996 games, a record no American has matched since, spanning an era of the sport defined by a very different set of rules, apparatus difficulty, and training culture than the one Carey grew up in. The two never competed against each other, never trained in the same gym, and never crossed paths directly in any documented way. What they share instead is a very specific kind of American gymnastics inheritance. Both built their legacies not around avoiding mistakes entirely, but around what happened in the minutes and hours immediately after one. We'll get to the day that line applies to most directly. First, you need to know how a 2-year-old in her parents' gym in Phoenix, Arizona ended up on that stage at all. Jade Alexa Carey was born on the 27th of May, 2000, in Phoenix, Arizona. Unlike most elite gymnasts, she didn't need to be discovered. Her own parents owned the gym she trained in, a rare setup that meant there was never a moment where someone had to spot her talent from across a crowded competition floor. She began the sport at just 2 years old, growing up inside Arizona Sunrays Gymnastics, coached eventually by Janine Thompson, her own father Brian Carey, and Orly Schmutch, a coaching arrangement most gymnasts never get, a training environment her own family had built from the ground up, with her father directly involved in shaping her technique from her earliest years in the sport. Her older sister, Tayeva, was a gymnast too, meaning the sport was simply the family business long before it became Jade's career, something woven into the household rather than a hobby that had to compete for attention against anything else. She attended Mountain Ridge High School, later inducted into its Hall of Fame in January 2024, well after she'd already become an Olympic champion, a recognition that came full circle years after she'd left those hallways behind. Growing up, literally inside a gymnastics gym, gave her something most elite athletes don't have: total, unhurried access to the equipment at any hour, with family members as her first coaches, without the pressure of driving across a city to squeeze in extra hours at someone else's facility. It also meant nobody was rushing her development on anyone else's timeline but her own, a freedom that would end up shaping the entire, unusual arc of her career. Most elite gymnasts reach the sport's highest competitive level by 12 or 13 years old, spending their early teenage years already logging international meets and national team camps, years of experience that most competitors simply don't have time to build once they start later. Carey didn't become an elite gymnast until she was 17, a genuinely unconventional timeline in a sport that usually pushes its future stars onto the senior circuit years earlier, often before they've even entered high school. She was spotted at the 2016 Junior Olympic Nationals and invited to national team training camps from there, a late bloomer by the sport's usual standards, with a compressed runway to prove she belonged among gymnasts who'd already been training at the elite level for half a decade, some of whom had been household names in the sport since childhood, competing on the biggest domestic stages for years before Carey ever set foot on one herself. Her elite debut came at the 2017 American Classic, where she placed 4th in the all-around and won gold on vault, balance beam, and floor exercise, an emphatic first statement from a gymnast most of the sport had never heard of a year earlier, delivered against a field of competitors who'd had years longer to prepare for exactly that stage. Drop a comment below. Did you know Jade Carey didn't become an elite gymnast until she was 17, years later than most Olympic-level competitors? In 2017, her first year competing at the senior elite level, Carey went from virtually unknown to winning 2 silver medals at the World Championships on vault and on floor exercise, the 2 events that would come to define her entire career and eventually carry her all the way to 2 separate Olympic Games. It was an almost unheard of jump, a gymnast with essentially 0 senior international experience walking straight onto a World Championships podium twice in the same competition. In her first attempt at that level, against fields that included gymnasts who'd been competing internationally since they were barely teenagers. The unconventional late start hadn't cost her anything. If anything, it had compressed years of typical development into a single, explosive breakthrough season. Proof that the family gym and the unhurried timeline had built something genuinely durable underneath all of it. Tokyo, Ariake Gymnastics Center. When Simone Biles withdrew from the all-around final, Carey stepped into her spot and finished 8th. A solid showing under sudden, unexpected circumstances nobody could have prepared for, absorbing pressure that hadn't even existed on her schedule a day earlier. Then came the event she'd actually been brought to Tokyo to medal in, the vault final. Carey tripped on her run during her first of 2 vaults, a fluke mistake, the kind that happens in a split second and costs everything a gymnast has spent years building toward, in front of a worldwide television audience, with absolutely no way to take it back. It ended her medal chances outright. She finished last in the field. Carey later called it the worst day of her life. She had less than 24 hours to turn it around. The very next day, she was back on the competition floor for the floor exercise final, the second of her 2 individual medal chances, and now carrying the weight of the day before into every step of her approach, with the entire sport watching to see how she'd respond. She nailed her routine. A score of 14.366 secured the 3rd consecutive Olympic gold medal for the United States in that event, and a place in the history books entirely her own. I often look back and remember that moment because it reminds me how strong I am and that nothing really defines you. Carey said afterward, "You can have a bad day, a bad year, a bad few weeks, but you can still bounce back and be who you are." That is almost word for word the exact idea Shannon Miller, still to this day the most decorated American gymnast in Olympic history, has spent decades repeating to the athletes who came after her. Success is not determined by how many times you fall down, but by how many times you get back up. Miller has never said that about Jade Carey specifically. She didn't have to. Carey fell in front of the entire world on the exact day it mattered most and then got back up in front of the entire world less than 24 hours later and won, turning the worst day of her career into the same 24-hour window as one of its very best. Carey spent the next 3 years chasing one specific piece of unfinished business, a vault medal, the event where Tokyo had cost her the most, the exact apparatus where she'd once been ranked among the best in the world and still walked away with nothing. At the 2022 World Championships, she won gold with the U.S. team, gold individually on vault, becoming the world vault champion outright, and bronze on floor exercise, a near complete reversal of how Tokyo had gone 2 years earlier. For me, that word has the most meaning on vault, Carey told ESPN ahead of Paris. Last time, not doing my best in the vault final when I was definitely expected to medal was hard. Just making the vault final again and proving that I'm as good as I was last time and belong there will be redemption. And hopefully, walking away with a medal this time. Paris, 2024. Carey helped Team USA win gold in the team final. Then came the vault final itself, 3 years and 2 days after the fall in Tokyo, by her own count, a number she'd clearly been tracking the entire time. She won bronze. Redemption tour complete, she wrote afterward. Making this Olympic team and bringing home a vault medal was such a big goal of mine. Off the elite floor, Carey was rewriting a different kind of record entirely at Oregon State University, where she completed the sport's rare gym slam perfect 10 scores across all 4 individual events: vault, bars, beam, and floor, becoming only the 13th gymnast in NCAA history to accomplish it. A distinction that has nothing to do with Olympic pressure and everything to do with pure, sustained consistency across an entire college career. She finished her collegiate career with 51 individual event titles across 14 appearances in her senior season alone. A volume of weekly excellence that rarely gets the same spotlight as a single Olympic final, but represents just as much accumulated skill. Carey took most of 2025 off from elite competition entirely, focusing solely on her final collegiate season at Oregon State, calling the change refreshing after years of trying to balance both calendars simultaneously, training for international meets and NCAA duels in the same overlapping weeks. She returned to elite competition for the 2026 season with an eye on one final Olympic run, training with Los Angeles 2028 quietly in the background of every decision, never publicly committing to it, but never ruling it out either. On the 7th of August, 2026, at the Xfinity US Gymnastics Championships held in Phoenix, Arizona, the exact city she grew up in. Inside the exact metro area her own parents had built her career around. Carey claimed the national vault title with a 28.5 and finished 5th in the all-around at 108.75, competing in front of a hometown crowd for the first time at a national championship, a genuinely full-circle moment for a gymnast whose entire foundation had been built inside one family-owned gym in that same city. Days after that vault title, Oregon State announced that Jade Carey had joined its coaching staff as a student assistant coach. The two-time Olympic gold medalist, the world vault champion, the gymnast who once fell in front of the entire world and won gold 24 hours later, walked back through the doors of the exact college gym where she'd completed a gym slam, this time as a coach, not a competitor, trading her own routines for the job of building someone else's. Can't wait to watch you shine in a different way this season, her girlfriend Amy Sinicola wrote when the news broke, a small, personal footnote to a genuinely major career transition. A gymnast who didn't turn elite until 17, who fell on the sport's biggest stage and answered it with gold the very next day, who chased a 3-year redemption arc all the way to a Paris podium, closed her competitive career the same way she'd started it inside a gym, surrounded by the people who built her, in the same state, in front of the same kind of crowd that had watched her very first routines as a toddler. Does Jade Carey step back onto a competition floor for one more Olympic cycle, or does the coaching chair become the rest of her story? Drop your prediction in the comments. I read every single one. If this story hit you the way it hit me, hit subscribe, because Jade Carey's story, on one side of the mat or the other, is not finished being written.